line. Check the radio, big crew is far from slow. The lights no longer yellow. Ready, steady, go. Crank it up. Oh, it's racing. 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 In love with the ride. Burning rubber smells real nice. Fuel it up once or twice. Come on, fast is the way to drive. Crowds all on their feet. Not one bothered by the heat. Imagine them in the driver's seat. Checkered flag would be sweet. Crank it up. Oh, it's racing. 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 Everybody get ready. On your feet. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Crank it up. Crank it up. Oh, it's racing. 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 Crank it up. Finger to the sky and a green light shining bright. The only thing I have in mind is the finish line. Check the radio, big crew is far from slow. The lights no longer yellow. Ready, steady, go. Crank it up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly a track here tonight that we have been presented to and seen many times before, but this tonight may get a little trickier than usual, especially with Halloween around the corner. Tonight, from Joe Sixpack Racing League, we present to you the Tricky 60 live at Pocono Raceway. I got her on. I am Christian, the Considered Driver. Welcome you here tonight, and joining me in by my fellow friend and colleague here, Philip Brown, or as you may know him as Archangel Cloud, there from the Heat Series. And Arch, good to see you back on the show, and good to hear from you, sir.
Oh, definitely good to be here, and excited to see this track on a different format. I've never seen it on the iRacing side. I'm excited to see what the racing's here like, see how far these tires fall off, and just see how well these drivers can maintain it on a long run.
Well, we're about to find that out and then some here as drivers get into preparation for the lineup here tonight. The next gen Cup cars we'll be seeing here on the show. So let's not waste any time here tonight. The Tricky 60 presented by Joe Sixpack Racing Podcast. Now on to the show. On the starting lineup, in row number 1 it'll be Anthony Garland, and the number 81 is outside. That's Josh Brumfield in the number 12.
We're going to have Mike Killenbeck bringing up the third position in the number 70, followed by fourth is Keith Fonseca. In fifth, we're going to bring up David Lamaga. In sixth, we're going to have Stephen Parker Hamilton. Joshua Humphreys in the number 4, or Jonathan Humphreys will be piloting that number 4 car tonight, as Joshua Benton will be in the 69 to his outside.
Next row on back, because I'd say next row's on back here. We'll go one in a row in time from here, bud. But Brian Wojcik in the number 9, that heads outside. That would be Greg Drace in the number 64.
Yeah, I was definitely a little bit thrown off by Brian's last name right there. But we got Wayne Garland bringing up the 84 in 11th, and Johnny Barker in the 6th will be in 12th.
Row 7 sees Gary right there in the number 90 is outside. That will be the 37, James Garland.
We're going to have Wayne Dewey in the 11th and 15th, and we're going to have John Lamaga in the 71 bringing up 16th.
Final starters here tonight, Darrell Wells, and then the 45 is outside. That'll be Rob Lowell in the 21. And race fans, this isn't just a tricky triangle for no good reason. We know this track very well from inside and out. It is one of the toughest tracks to master, and it is the very first time on PT Race TV history we've ever seen the drivers come at you here at Pocono Raceway. And I might add, I did go down there and tinkle a few of the cameras down there. So tonight you actually will be seeing the drivers and how they're actually maneuvering through the corners and maneuvering with their wheel. Rather than just seeing their wheel moving around, you actually see their drivers and their expressions that they are creating down in the car. So we certainly hope you do appreciate that and like it up a little bit. That was something we had a little bit of time figuring out, but nevertheless, some new camera angles to show and some new worlds to see off of turn 3. No 4. Let's go at the tricky Pocono.
Everybody's going to grab a gear, and they're trying to get as much speed as they can. These front guys are trying to push as fast and as hard as they can without pushing that guy too much. That outside road is not going to get the run in. The lead is going to come from the inside heading into 1.
We're going to be very curious to see just how well the steering handles. We talked here before about just how tough the steering can be, a little twitchy, a little bit harder to master. Here you need to be on pace, you need to be perfect through each corner, each spot, because remember, every turn is different. There are 3 different kinds of turns, all based on different tracks, all based on different realms of our racing world and the motorsports industry. Some based more on the sprint cars / the IndyCar scene, some more based on what the stock cars like to run, and then others actually based more on just kind of a mix of it. So you got 3 different kinds of turns, 3 different styles of mindset racing, and a whole lot of spookiness in between with these tricky 60 drivers, because right now everyone rocking a little bit of a pretty cool little Halloween scheme out there, and I'm definitely liking every bit of this, my friends.
Oh, I'm definitely loving that color mixture and all these new schemes that we got going on. The 70 of Mike Killenbeck was able to lead that first lap from the 3rd position. He was able to come all the way up there and lead that lap. Because we have a caution.
Caution down there coming out of turn 1. Greg Drace unfortunately getting caught up in the mix there. The 64 bashed into the wall protection of turn 1. Caution is out. First caution of the night, which brings us to the PTM instant replay. Hard to say exactly what transpired there until we get to see the instant replay here and taking a look at it here. We got one good lap in, but unfortunately everybody kind of got caught in a bad spot. And looks like Drace and it looks like the 90 there of Gary Wright ended up kind of finding himself into a bit of a bad pickle there. Couldn't quite get themselves out of that runoff, get themselves out of that position, and ended up kind of costing them both. We'll go on board with both drivers here and just give you guys a better idea what they saw when it all transpired. But just look, you can see right here, and or just something we're going to be talking about all night long is just how much draft can you build up and how much speed can you run off with, considering you're driving in a car that isn't going to necessarily give you that, you know, car of tomorrow speeds or even those IndyCar speeds. This is really going to be more of a drafter's kind of race.
Well, it definitely is, and a lot of these guys that you're going to see, they're just going to try and maintain their way through it. This is a long race. It's 60 laps. This race is over 120 miles. You know, this is going to be long. These guys are going to have to be patient, and as it comes with any super speedway or big track, Michigan, Daytona, Talladega, you got to be patient. You got to take care of your car, and it's just tough to see guys this early on just have a little bit of bad luck right there. The guys managed to get together going into turn 1.
Sorry for the technical difficulties there, folks. We were trying to find the right camera angle to Greg Drace. You can just see just from this onboard angle as well. You can see very calm, cool, and collected, but maybe not so thrilled that he ended up getting smack dab into the bad spot here. He is out of the car at the moment, trying to get his crew chief and his crew to get that fixed up as soon as possible, as our drivers are now starting to get fielded back in for another runoff here, as we're currently under our first caution of the night.
Yeah, the 81 Anthony Garland was able to get that run back before the caution came out. He was able to capture back his lead. After sitting on the pole, I expected he didn't like not leading that first lap, so he made sure to jump back out there, and he's going to show what he's got. Is I think actually he's coming down pit road. No, he's going to psych out the whole field. There's a couple cars peeking down like they were going to come in, maybe top it off and extend a little bit longer, but I don't think we have any takers right there.
I wouldn't really be taking anything too seriously out of the gate here, because remember, obviously, we've got 60 laps of the distance here tonight. The tricky 60 with about 2.5 miles in length here. This 60 lap track is going to really test and really give the best of drivers the more speeds and runoff than they realize. And we're going to take a look at our track map out here tonight. You can see just the absolute obstacle these drivers are facing here. This tricky triangle is, well, what it is called. It's a triangle. It's literally a tri-oval design track with, well, no oval. It's all a 90-degree almost inserted turn section with one little counter turn there in turn 2, and then turn 1 and turn 3 and 1. Well, they're kind of more normal set, but obviously they're nowhere near the same. They are differently styled and matched in their speeds and off their runoffs, so only the best can master around here. But if I remember right, even the best have said that the only way to really beat this track out is to figure out which turn you want to master more than the other, and then just let the second turn be kind of your little shift away.
Yeah, and many crew chiefs has always tried to do that. You know, a lot of their drivers are always complaining about one corner, and they're like, we can only fix one end of the track. So it's definitely one of the harder tracks to build a setup for, or work on, or anything like that. So that's where I feel like a lot of these smoother drivers will start to show their way towards the front of the field. The guys that can be most consistent, keep their equipment lasting the longest, and keep their tires the freshest will wind up making their way towards the front of the field here. It tends to happen.
I think so too, honestly. I think I've only raced this track a few too many times in my for what I've got out of it. And the one thing I always have said and I've always hated is that no matter what I do, no matter what I go after, there is not a single turn around here that I have truly mastered or gotten very fast with. It seems like every turn I'm either just average at best or maybe just a little bit slower off. And again, that's just because the style of the track and the configuration.
Oh yeah, and it's hard to get yourself mentally prepared coming into this race. You know that one of these corners could be your demise, and it's just a matter of which one. One of them could be your saving grace. I always felt like if I could be good through 1 and 2, that half of the lap was good, but then I always felt like I was losing the important battle, which was down in 3 and 4, making that run to the finish line. So, I mean, you really got to pick where you want to be strong at this track.
I was about to say, I think you've misread the turn 3 there, my friend. It says what turn 4? What turn 4?
You're definitely right. I did. I've raced too many circle tracks.
You've been on way too many circle tracks, and you've been on way too many tracks that involve anything but actually trying to corner off as hard as you have to at Pocono. Again, the one thing we're going to be looking towards, I said it a minute ago, was, you know, can these next-gen Cup cars, with the way the steering is set and the way they've been kind of handling, will they be able to work into tip-top shape and really get a handle on how tight the cornering is? Because, again, you know, they're great for short tracks, in my opinion. You can really run them off there and really get some speed built up, but I feel like on road courses, that's probably the best I can really do with them because they're more designed for that kind of mindset mentality, whereas short tracks, you know, obviously when you break them down a lot, you need that quicker turn, quicker momentum, but the tires definitely take a bit of a beating. So for a track like Pocono, obviously it's just very much designed as a road course mentality track, but at the same time, you know, these cars are completely we don't really know. They're untouched. That's the best way I can explain them.
Well, yeah, definitely. And for me, it's really hard because I've never turned one lap behind the seat of these cars yet. I'm going to start turning laps in them soon. So I'm excited to see what you're talking about and understand it so I can bring future broadcasts because this is such a foreign thing for everybody. I mean, there's not many people that have raced these cars yet, and the guys that are out here bringing it back down to green will show you exactly the experience that they have over the rest of the guys.
I'll have to start here back on the gun here. Every driver now leading their speeds up and building the power under the hood. Remember, there aren't 4 gears in these things. They got 5 gears in these cars. Although you'll see most of them try to use mainly the 4 gears off the starts, and then when they go into those turns, then they'll start to switch them up to 5 gear to try to build that speed back up into turn 1.
Yeah, they're definitely going to try it too, as we've got guys fanned out 2-3 wide all the way down that second stretch, heading down to the little dog leg here that we call turn 2.
Moving their way into position right now, the number 12, Josh Bloomfield, currently.
Oh, there's a spin in the back around 6th or 7th place. We got 2-3 cars in the inside wall, 4 more stacking up. It clogged up quick there.
Big wreck there coming off of turn 2, unfortunately, and that will set up another caution here. Drivers just completely bashed in and spanked around here. No one getting out of this one clean. If you're in that mid-pack, we'll take a look at the PT instant replay and find out what happened here, but this one looked like it could have gone to a bit of a occurrence of just not realizing their spot where they were at and not figuring what the corner was going to do with them. And I think that may have been just the biggest telling of the tale right there. You see the 61 gets right into the wall protection coming off of turn 2, Keith Fonseca, and he just completely dashed in and smashed up a lot of equipment and all himself as well. And again, I think that's just kind of unfortunately the nature of the beast. He didn't realize just how much he was building so much speed off, but he couldn't get it through the turn.
Yeah, and that is case in point right there. Is that car just completely washed out coming through that corner? He had no hope. There's nothing you can do. It's really helpless feeling when you're right there. You're out of the groove. The car's sliding, and you know even if you lift, it's not gonna help. You know if you hit your brake, it's gonna push you into the wall more. You're just dead in the water at that point right there, and it's rough for a driver to have to deal with that. That's a hard hit.
It was a hard hit and a lot of hard breaks there, obviously. The Tricky 60 is not being very nice out here to these drivers out of the gate as you see the field getting stacked back up and you're trying to get themselves to pit runner, trying to give themselves a fair shake at things.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and you guys are gonna have to keep in mind these drivers do only have 2 fast repairs for this race. So a couple of them have already been used. There's a couple guys I think were involved in both cautions that have had to use them fast repairs. So now they have to make it 53 more laps, damage free. That's tough to do. We've already seen how tricky this track can be.
Yeah, I'd say really, if you're going through that corner turn there of turn 2, honestly, and you're trying to build up as much speed as you do, even with the Gen 6s, which is the gen below these guys, they're extremely tough to really figure out and really get off the corner just right because, again, you're trying to do too many things at once. You're trying to basically work a hard run in while also finding yourself into a corner entry and a corner exit that can end up just completely dashing and destroying any hope of chance that you guys have to run their way into the event.
Oh, completely. And I mean you gotta think when you guys are setting up this car and you guys are trying to run through turn 2 or turn 3. Just look at the banking in turn 1. Your car has to be able to match the high banking in turn 1, the medium banking in 2, and the no banking in 3. It's really hard to get a car to have grip in all 3 of them sections. And the biggest thing you're either going to have is getting loose off of 2 or shoving it in the wall. And right there we saw a case in point of somebody that had one track of then, but that corner was just real too tight.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I'm hoping maybe that when we get more into this race, get more into the feel of it, things can get a little bit more under control and these guys can get a better understanding and a better grip of what they're really trying to take on and challenge. With the nature of the beast, though, really it's not a matter of how long will it take, it's a matter of when will it take.
Oh yeah, and that's a case in point that we've seen so many times. When is it gonna happen? And for a lot of these guys, it happened a lot sooner than what they wanted. Is right now we're down to 15 cars on the lead lap with these cautions. We will have a couple guys getting their chances to get back on the lead lap, but it's been a tough day so far already for a couple drivers.
I think it's been more than just a hard day. I think it's a bit of a rough day to say the least, considering what they have to continue to fight off with and deal with here for the later half of this race. But while we were going into tonight's action here tonight, Ethan Michaels actually was the #1 seed going into this event. He's currently in the lead with 239 points, while Albert Reed had a second place at 238 with the tie there with David Lomaga. I swear I'm gonna get called out for this one again because I know I'm not saying it right. Someone told me how to say it last time, and now I've completely forgot how to say it. It's not Lomega, it's not Lomaga, it's Lomaga, it's Lomaga, Lomaga. That's like something like that. I don't know. Someone in the comment section is gonna correct me again, and I know I'm gonna get it criticized for this one again. But fourth being old John Humphrey there, and then fifth being Anthony Garland. With Robert Tuiscu. Yeah, Tuiscu. I'm messing up these names again. Like it's hard to really just keep up with all the names and all the people because there's so many. You're gonna mess up on them eventually. But Tuiscu, unfortunately, not able to join us into tonight. Jonathan Bromfield actually is with us though. He's currently sitting 7th, tied there with Keith Fonseca, and then Johnny Barker with 196 here and to round it out the field. So really you got a top 10 average of drivers that have a pretty good chance and a pretty good opportunity to really strike it big when they need to. But again,
well, a lot of them guys. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, man.
Well, a lot of them guys are going to have a real battle to overcome here. This is not a track where you can make mistakes. We've seen a lot of guys already get caught up in a mess here. And if you start losing points this early on, it could definitely end to a bad result later on in the season.
We'll have to see if that does transpire and things do get shaken up a little bit though. But as we come off the corners and the clutches of turn 3, we're going to be going under the partly cloudy skies. The afternoon breeze so currently about 310 where we're at right now, and we're ready to see some more racing and hopefully see these guys branch out and start to play into a favorable race. As they lead them off the charge, we've got 17 drivers still on the field while many still try to hang in there.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are hoping to just hang in there and be able to maintain for the rest of this race as these guys up front are charging hard down into turn 1. Anthony Garland in that 81 gets the early hole shot there again. He's been running out front for most of this race.
Yeah, Mike Killingbeck trying to make it away around Josh Bromfield. Bromfield, though, swinging it back down inside. Makes a runoff there. Coming down that straightaway they go. The speeds, they will carry in absolute tremendous rhythm and tremendous momentum. About 170 plus they're heading over here. They can probably hit about 190 at top speed. Oh, no, there's more trouble.
Oh, they're going to keep it straight as the 4 got loose coming through turn 2 and came down into the car underneath him. I'm trying to see who that was.
Looked like it might have been Stephen Parker Hamilton there, our fellow Englishman here tonight. Unfortunately, though, he's got a lot of damage on that left side just from taking a little bit of a beating, a bit of a scruffle, if you will. But thankfully, he's okay to take some fist up and put some fights on the track.
Oh.
But there's more trouble back behind him. There, the 84 Wayne Garland crashing in on the front straightaway.
Yeah, the 84 looked like he appeared. Looks like there was just a bad misjudgment there as the car that was on his inside seemed to slide up the track, and it was just a little bit too soon, and he hooked his back bumper, and it wound up sending him down into the inside wall.
What a tough break there for that 84. We'll go to the PC Minister replay and taking a look at this one. This was a bad omen to be caught up in and a bad spot to really find yourself in to begin with, but I think this is just kind of even more solidifying just how tough it is to build speed and build a runoff here. Take a look at it here. Looked like the 84 was trying to sneak below and trying to get ahead of some guys, but the spotter may have accidentally kind of mixed it in just at the wrong time and ended up putting him in a worse spot for wear than I think he was hoping for. That is definitely not what he wanted to see or what he wanted to have happen as we go to his onboard here.
Yeah, it looks like just a little bit of misjudgment there. He thought that he was going to be clear. He wasn't. And he just got that rear clip just a little bit. And you see how hard of a hit you can take here doing these speeds down the front stretch.
Just looking at the onboard camera, you can see his helmet was not moving in there. He obviously was keeping himself under control and under pace, but unfortunately the car did not do much of the same. He just could not see where he was at and couldn't really figure out what was going to go down. And again, that's not anything on him. That's just kind of the way the cars are set and the way the nature is done with these things now. You have to basically use those helmets and use those safety harnesses back in there to basically strap you down in. The only thing you got then is your spotter to help you out. There's no help otherwise.
Yeah, there's no help in a situation like that. It's really tough because it looked like in front of him the 3 cars started to go a little bit 3 wide, like they had stacked up or something. They touched the wall right there. So I think he kind of turned left right there to kind of be of a little bit of avoidance. It was just bad timing for him and for the car that was on his inside. And guys, it's going to be a tough day.
It is going to be a bit of a tougher day than I think he wants it to be and what he wants to see. But, you know, at the end of the day, though, there's still plenty of room, still plenty of opportunities to get up with it and get back into it. But again, you know, will they be able to get there?
Oh, definitely. And a lot of these guys are going to have to remember we still have 42 laps left. As I'm imagining a lot of these guys are going to come down, finally get fuel, maybe get some tires. Some of these guys in the back are definitely going to use it to their advantage. I know it's been a lot of caution laps, but any wear on these tires is going to be a huge wear. Any advantage you can get over the guys around you, you might as well take it, as we see a couple people down there ducking onto pit road.
So right now, everyone getting back under control. And I think I figured out how to say Lomaga there again, Lomaga. So it's not like MAGA, like how Donald Trump would say. It's Lomaga. So just be aware there, folks. It's that's how you say it. Although I'm kind of waiting on my friend here, well, Miss Morgan. Honestly, she was talking with me last time, and that was kind of what helped me keep my track and mark here with these things, thankfully.
Well, I'm definitely glad you're the one that had to figure it out, so I can just kind of piggyback off you. So at least I'm gonna carry myself on it when we come around David Lamaga, and it looks like it might be his brother or relative John is actually out of the races. He is now 6 laps down, so an early entry for John tonight in the 71.
John Lamaga kind of got himself into a bit of a bad pickle, bad spot there earlier on, getting himself stuck in the worst ends of the run. And I know as well as anything that he did not want that to happen. He did not want that to transpire, but nevertheless, it is just something he's going to have to keep on trucking and keep on heading to.
He definitely is. Brian, oh, I can't even think of that last name. You did it perfect. And the 9 car is going to get his lap back. He's going to be our lucky dog under this caution.
Brian Wojcik?
Yep.
I was about to say, it's just a simple little name. I don't know why you were having so much trouble with it.
Wojcik?
Wojcik.
Okay. I'm close.
Yeah,
We'll get there by
you're
next
not
time.
far off. Yeah, you're not far off. You just give him a few more times here, folks. He'll be figuring it out.
Definitely. And like you said in the beginning of the broadcast, it is so hard with so many different drivers, and this game being so world renowned. We're not just trying to understand, normal American last names or Canadians or anything that we're used to. I mean, we're having to learn a whole new culture, and it's really cool to be able to see so much diversity.
Believe me, I don't think it gets any more diverse than seeing European drivers from the UK, Germany, Italy. We've had Hispanic drivers come on board here, all the way from Mexico. We've had guys from Canada, obviously, and women, ladies too. Cannot forget some of our friends there, and obviously the American groups have kind of piled in and kind of raced it out. But there is a huge, diverse group of drivers on multiple cultures, multiple levels, and everything that truly just shows what this sim represents and what it has brought to the table when it comes to the racing aspect, as well as the culture that racing really, in my opinion, kind of needed for the long-term use, because we still don't know, how it all will play out when we get to that day and age where maybe we have to go to those electric cars, where we have to go to those electric issues.
Well, that's definitely a day that I think I'm a little bit afraid of, man. I don't do well sitting in the passenger seat of the car, so not having control of a vehicle after driving for so long, I think it's a little bit scary for me.
I'm gonna tend not to think about it too much there, so because I had to go back and through work here, and then I still had to end up sleeping in the back seat just to make sure we were set to go before we even got this one in. I was hanging around here at Pennsylvania all day. It was kind of fun.
Well, it's definitely a beautiful place to hang out, as we've done some racing there in the Lake Erie area, so I've enjoyed that countryside. As we're going to get ready to bring it back down to the green flag here. Anthony Garland in the 81 is still your race leader as we are coming down to 15 laps of this race.
14 completed, head down to lap 15. Anthony Garland will be the one that leads the pack and shows them the way. We'll see how this one plays.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in watching the back of the pack. These guys that came down and got them fresh tires, are they going to be able to be patient enough to not tear up their equipment and make it through turn 2?
So far, so good. I got a feeling some of the guys down there are literally talking to their drivers and they're talking to everyone else, and they're like, hey, watch yourselves and don't try to do anything too crazy now. But they seem to have forgot that mindset in the back here. 3 wide, slowed in between here. Greg Drace now actually starting to make a charge back up to the field here in the 64, as you see the 485 of Darrell Wells trying to avoid and trying to escape carnage ahead of him. He knows there's a lot going on. He doesn't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ground being gained here. These cars definitely have an amazing suck up from the draft. I've never seen such a gap close so often here at Pocono. This is interesting to see, and I can't wait to try it out myself.
Well, the gap can certainly close on these cars, but my biggest problem I've noticed is that they lack the speeds to really work around each other when they need to get it done on the plate tracks like Talladega and Daytona. Now, granted, iRacing and NASCAR has confirmed they will be working on that and trying to get it to where it's a better set, not just for the next gens, but for the Gen 6s, because let's be honest, the Gen 6 Cup cars kind of got ruined for plate tracks after their little update they did.
Yeah, they definitely did, but we're sitting here trying to wonder who's going to win this one right now, as it looks like the third place car, the 12, just tagged the wall coming out of 2 right there. as we got the 70 of Mike Killenbeck still trying to chase the 81 of Anthony Garland as we have another caution on the speedway.
Oh, we got one upside down coming down the back straightaway here at turn 2. The 69 of Joshua Ben completely upside down the top of his roof, just clambering on the concrete surface, on the surface down below. I don't even know how else to say it. The asphalt may have actually tore up a little bit, and I'm still trying to figure out what happened here.
Yeah, he's definitely had a rough race so far. He's been involved in a couple of the first incidents. Not all products of good timing, it would look like, is right here. He just appeared to have some bad luck as the 9 actually came up on him coming out of 2, washed out, and it just wound up flipping that car over.
So Joshua Ben ended up getting tagged in, unfortunately, there. Had nowhere to go and nowhere to get out of, and ended up costing him more time than he really wants to. He is out of the car, though, and he is currently heading in for pit road as the 9 here, Brian Wojcik, maybe trying to question like what exactly happened there. He's talking to his spotter like, how come we ended up getting to Ben there, but I don't think there's anything he could have realized, and you can see even Ben's reaction right there. He had no idea what else was to do. He was just basically along for the ride.
Yeah, and that's that turn 2. It has been the kryptonite to so many good drivers. You think you have a hold on it and then it pushes, or you think you got a hold on it and then it snaps, and it's just a funnel. It's just a really bad spot for a lot of drivers. You see a lot of accidents happen there. I think that's the most traffic spot on the track for accidents.
Well, they do call it the tunnel turn for a reason because it really showcases who can get in between here and who is able to actually keep themselves out of trouble in that turn, because the tunnel turn to me is probably the worst turn of the bunch because it builds up a lot of speed. You get a lot of runoff, but at the same time, if you're not careful, one slip up into that wall protection and it's pretty much game over, lights out for all your drivers and all your cars out there. But so far, as we currently try to deal with this 2.5-mile long tricky triangle, the triangle is definitely winning out on some drivers as folks head to pit road.
Yeah, it definitely is. Drivers from Stephen Parker on back are on pit lane right now. We got about 5 or 6 cars on here. Joshua Benton's there, Greg G, Six Pack, Daryl Wells. They're all on pit road right now.
They're heading down there. They'll get a little cleanup job. Now remember, folks, when you got a track like this and you got some time to actually just kind of fix up a few fenders and benders down there, the good news is that you can actually do it rather easily and quickly compared to, say, I would say maybe even some of the other drivers out there that have to go and get a complete instant repair because their front hood or their car is completely totaled in and damaged. Some of these guys, they don't have to worry about that. If they just got a few fender benders, all they got to do is just take about 10 or 20 seconds while the rest of the field just kind of works their way around the track, and you really got everything fixed up without using that instant repair.
Yeah, that can be crucial for having a car left later on in the race. As the number 37 of James Grimes is going to be your lucky dog under the caution. He will be able to bring it back around, so we will only have 2 cars that are left a lap down. We'll have 15 cars back on the lead lap coming to this restart.
And again, this restart here may be the most important one so far, because I feel as though this one may signify the beginning of the end for some, or maybe the beginning of better for others, because this race so far has not been the way anybody has thought it would play out. As a matter of fact, I think they were more worried about just how to handle and master the turns, because the corners on the track is just giving them all sorts of headaches here.
Oh, it definitely has, and this track will give drivers headaches more than Bristol and Martinsville sometimes. And it's not because of the other drivers. It's just because of how tricky the track is. I mean, we say it time and time again, tricky triangle, tricky everything. Well, this car is tricky on your mental stability when you leave here.
So right now, as we are currently getting everyone settled away here, and it sounds like also to our friends over at Kansas Speedway, they're having some troubles down there with the weather. Unfortunately, the sunshine is not out and the lightning is starting to strike, so hope our thoughts and prayers are over there with the teams and everybody. Make sure to stay safe. It is a little bit of a darker time up there, and believe me, coming from a guy that lives in Iowa, we hate tornadoes as much as you guys do.
Yeah, definitely do. My wife and her family are off in the Kansas City area, so definitely thinking about that and keeping that in the back of our minds as we're trying to keep you guys entertained here at Pocono, as The rain race there makes a good race here. We're gonna have a lot more people that have time to come over here and check it out. So make sure you guys share it, pass it around, get your friends to come over here and check out today's broadcast.
We do have two podcasts exclusively live here on the YouTube end. One will go on the Facebook end. The next one to follow will be, of course, Pedal the Metal Racing League and their Cup Series. There you'll see actually our friend here, Arch / Philip Brown, actually joining down with the crew there at Richmond Raceway. And then to follow here tonight, we'll have Shake and Bake Racing League coming out for another showcase, another race around. They will be heading, ironically enough, to Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, that's definitely ironic, and it's going to put on some great racing. That track produces some of my favorite racing to watch. I've seen more 3 wide and 4 wide racing there, and guys coming away from it, and that's the good thing. A lot of times you get 3 and 4 wide on the track, it's not easy to come out of, but guys can make it there. There's so much room, and there's a great draft at that track too. It's awesome to see.
Certainly is indeed. You may guys also notice that we had the pit strategy linked up there for a little bit. We had that up to give you guys just a brief idea of how far everyone is and where everything is going down for these drivers so far, and just seeing who will be able to master the runoff for the long term as we bring the green flag back on out. Honestly, if we get about 5 or 6 good laps in, I think the tires may start to wear and tear a little bit more for the folks that have not been in pit road yet.
Yeah, definitely. As you see the 70 right there, his tires appear to give a little bit on the outside. He's going to lose a couple positions. He's got a couple cars making a run on the 6 and the 4. Going to dive to his inside to try and battle for the 4th and 5th position.
Still hanging in there, though. They'll lead him off down out of turn 2. Now John Humphrey, the number 4 on the outside, banks it off. The number 6 is Johnny Barker. Johnny trying to stabilize it in after the tunnel turn. Did not get himself into a bit of a problematic zone. Good for him there. But for the National Park 34, David Lamaga, he's got the 70 Mike Killenbeck right behind him, looking to charge him ahead.
Yeah, Joshua Bromfield's doing a great job running up there in 2nd place, trying to chase down Anthony Garland in that 81. David Lamaga gets a heck of a draft coming down that straightaway and is going to pull up within half a car length of the 12.
Now will he be able to start making a kick? Can he get a little more runoff there where he needs it? He knows that he's in a bit of a proverbial spot here when it comes to this late in the run, because you never know if you're going to get a good long run or if you're going to have to still deal with the added pressure of these drivers just basically going off of a short run sign set setup. If I was them right now, I'd be trying to change that mindset up a little bit, because the way things are starting to spread out, drivers are starting to get a little less attached. This is going to boil down to now who can master the draft and help each other out for the long haul, because this is where things get extremely harder to take in and really start to figure out.
Oh, it definitely is hard to take in and figure out, but it looks like the 81 has figured it all out as he opened up a little bit of a gap finally on 2nd place. Can they get the draft running down into this corner and try and catch him again?
Dives it down low, has to make a run off there as we see which way this one go, because now David Lamaga is now marched in the field, marching the run off there. Josh Bromfield not able to keep him down and it's around. They'll push him off the back straightaway to turn number 2. Down to the tunnel turn they go. Anybody's guess who's going to get the advantage here and who will get the better spot here. The 70 of Mike Killenbeck thinks he's got something coming up. He sneaks in between, looking for the daily double.
He's definitely going to do it as David Lamaga is going to make that pass stick. He's going to move into that 2nd position as the 12 of Joshua Bromfield is about to fall into the clutches of 2 more cars right there.
He fell into the clutches. He fell into the wrong spot. He did not want to get himself into major trouble, but yeah, he finds himself in a bit of a bad pickle there. And now onto the outside line. Here he comes now, moving the chains and moving the speeds in. That is the number 4, John Humphrey.
Yeah, Jonathan Humphrey was trying to make a run there. Being on that outside end in that corner is going to cost him a lot of ground. He's definitely going to have to do some work down here through 2 and 3 to try and make that back up, as he's got the 70 all over his back bumper, trying to pass him right there going down into the backstretch.
To the backstretch, tunnel turn 2. Here you got 4 cars still battling for a 2nd place spot. David Lamaga, the 12 of Josh Bromfield, John Humphrey, and then that 70 of Mike Killenbeck. Nobody giving an inch though, and no one giving any fair shakes or any twists or turns around here. They just want nothing more than to just basically race this one out and see where it goes. The Trixie 60 at Pocono has been a favorite for many, a fan favorite for a lot of drivers out there that come watching this racing. But really, all kind of boiled down and actually started with the lights of the IndyCar and the USAC Federation and their generations that they brought to the table. But after the IndyCar split and then the USAC split, unfortunately, they had actually pretty much kind of lost some of their way and kind of destroy what was known as the Triple Crown, which then NASCAR kind of picked the ball up and picked up the reins and actually started bringing more people in to see these races, which honestly is why you had a double weekend where Pocono would have 2 races to their calendar. You have one on the Saturday and then one on the Sunday evening, and that was how that ended up kind of becoming of it, because that was basically their best way of making the most money around here at Pocono.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was cool to see them do that again this year, or well, last year with COVID and everything, being able to run that double weekend feature. It was nice, and it was definitely grueling on the drivers. I know that was definitely a hard one for some of them guys to maintain, and bringing 2 cars that are prepared for this track, because the odds that you're gonna have both cars survive the weekend, not very good.
I about to say, I wouldn't even try testing my luck or testing my patience around here, and I already can tell you why, because we got our yellow flag out here. We got trouble down there. One of our drivers crashed in, not getting the field in, trying to see where that was at or what happened there.
I don't see any drivers around. I was flipping through the field. I was actually around the back. I mean, James Grimes is a little bit off the field, but I never saw anybody around.
I'm not seeing
No,
anybody either. No, I'm not getting a word right now from the producers. They're even telling me, like, we're not even sure where that caution came from.
no, that was an admin thrown caution, so that was not a iRacing caution.
The only thing I can presume it was is a halfway point caution. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's about what I'm thinking it could have been right there. As we're getting ready to come up to it, we should be going green right back around the halfway point. We got about 2-3 laps until that'll be upon us.
So still plenty of time for these drivers to kind of get a feeling out process completed, and still plenty of time to see whether or not they're going to have to go to the very extremes and go into the very run that they need to, which is basically just jump charge and charge this thing up as hard as you can.
Well, my biggest question is, can they make it on fuel from here? If the guys pit, let's say they pit with 1 to go. If they top off, how many miles can these cars get on a tank of fuel?
Well, if I am thinking about this a little bit too much, I would say fuel-wise, they probably got enough for at least 3/4 of the race. So eventually they'll have to go into pit road and they'll have to get a fresh set of fuel. But again, at least 1 time for pitting, maybe 2 if they had a long green flag run. That may have been kind of their disadvantage there. But I think the way they've been pacing, the way things have been, I think they're more set in stone on a just 1 more pit stop, and they should be covered for the rest of the night, as long as they don't find themselves into a bit of a pickle.
I'm excited to see how this is going to change it up with these leaders coming down to pit for the first time. All the guys that have already taken pit stops and done stuff like that, they might leapfrog these leaders. So Anthony Garland, these guys might have a little bit of a battle on their hand trying to get past those cars.
And now setting to find the pit road strategies into commencing position. Wayne Garland yet again, though, finding himself kind of behind the third real 8 ball as the 84. Now the other Wayne Garland will actually take over his spot. So the Garland family right now are going to be pretty much in the top half, top area. But if I'm Anthony, my first thought is, how did Wayne even get ahead here, considering that last time I saw him, he was up on his roof with pretty much the little trouble there from that, or from the lone Canadian driver there, one of the lone drivers, Brian Wojcik.
Yeah, definitely is hard to believe that guys can go from being on the roof to winning, but we've seen it in all sorts of formats of racing that guys can overcome adversity and pull out some really surprising things. As we're going to have about 5 cars lined up here in front of the guys with fresh tires. So I'm interested to see, as it looks like David Lamaga was the first one of those guys that pitted to come off pit road in front of Anthony Garland and Joshua Bromfield. So those guys will be starting a little bit behind the 8 ball.
They'll be behind the 8 ball, and unfortunately that means only one thing. You never know where you're going to get a piece and a clip of that, what was it, the white ball that they get around here with?
Wait, what?
Yeah, they say he's behind the 8 ball, so he doesn't want nothing to do with the cue ball, right? The white ball?
Oh, yeah, well, they got to get behind the cue ball, because the cue balls are pace cars. They're just going to keep bringing these guys around here currently. under this caution as these guys are going to get ready and set themselves back up for the last 30 lap stretch here.
I don't know about that, honestly. I think that cue ball, honestly, might be a little bit more worse for wear for some of these drivers because I feel like the cue ball is not the base car. The cue ball is whoever is behind the leader and decides, well, I'm just going to shoot for the road and shoot for the gun and hope for this one to stick it out a little bit.
I mean, now that you break it down like that, I like your analogy and I agree with it, but I was just basing it off the paint scheme, I guess I would say.
I don't even know. There ain't no paint schemes around here with that 8-ball. Otherwise, that'd be a horrifying thing if you're a billiards fan because we all know that 8-ball is the toughest ball to get in and stay away from hitting in when you need to hit everything else in.
I honestly think that might be my next paint scheme idea now.
Well, all I can say is if you go with the NASCAR Heat logo, they have one already made for you there on the dirt slide models.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and get one custom made, and we're going to make it all nice and pretty. Might throw some spider on there. Make it pretty nice.
Well, while he figures that out, folks, we're going to get ready to get back to the action here. Coming off of turn one, they'll line them back in, double file them up. Wayne Garland is going to be a race leader here out of the start. Brian Wojcik, the guy that actually was gotten into him in this same corner here of turn number 2, will find himself in a little bit of a better spot here, a little bit of a better opportunity to get in less trouble. But I can guarantee you right now, when we're looking at this driver right here, that Freddy Krueger design there with the 84 Wayne Garland, he's trying to take down the, I'm going to call it the Northern Nightmare, number 9 of Brian Wojcik. Kind of a little reference to the monster truck days when we had actually Northern Nightmare out on the track, which, by the way, that was still a sick killer look, I will say. Seen it in person a couple times, so it was pretty sweet.
Well, Wayne Garland is definitely hoping he can get some help by Stephen Parker Hamilton, who's going to be in the 3rd spot behind him, followed by Greg J. Sixpack in the 64. He's made his way back after that early race troubles he's had by staying out right here. We have the 3rd row with the 45 and the 4. I believe they both have old tires. I think the first one, fresh tires, is the 34, David Lamaga.
We'll have to see what happens here right now. Looking to trying to find the great pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Off the start, though, we go. Wayne Garland gets a good jump start on the field as the American, the Englishman, and the Canadian try to follow in pursuit.
They're trying to follow in pursuit real hard. Stephen Parker Hamilton's going to get a great run down into turn 1. He's going to secure that 2nd position easily as we're going to have 3 wide coming off of turn 1 back there for about the 7th position.
Greg Dre's kind of put himself into a bad spot there. Had to get out of that one real quickly, trying to avoid and conserve himself from getting into more damage than it was worth. Great driving on his end and saving to stay out of the mess, but unfortunately for him, it's not nearly enough to catch back into the race top 5 or the top 10, if you will, if he keeps going the way he's going. 45 of Darrell Wells trying to wreck the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle power up off of the tunnel turn, but the tunnel turn did not play favorites. He got him into the wall a little bit, smack dab there, and managing to bring it back alive. Everyone now fielded in and in a pretty good spot, I would say. This is where you really want to be as a driver, is seeing that there's going to be a little more room for the drivers to make moves.
Well, the driver with the best spot right now is Anthony Garland. He was the first one with fresh tires. He's battling up for 2nd position already. Slower traffic was no battle for him as he's battling his way back to try and get the lead. He just passed Wayne Garland.
Steven, don't call him Peter Parker Hamilton. Number 66 has literally taken over the race lead once more now. He has taken the English fellow to the top spot. He's saying to all his fellow countrymen, we across the pond can run with the best of them if we just put our minds to it. But Garland is trying to put him on to Elm Street and give himself a little bit of a nightmare to think about because the 81 is right back on his tail.
The 81's giving a peek to that inside, seeing if he can get the run, but we do have a run there from the 70 of Mike Killenbeck in that 3rd position. He's going to take it, going to the inside, coming into 1.
Garland right now extremely smooth and controlling of his car and his momentum. He's not wanting to find himself in a bad spot or a bad place here. He wants to just make sure the car stays under control and stays a little more in rhythm and in bounds.
There goes Anthony Garland. He got the run coming off 2, and he's using it down that 2nd stretch into the turn 2. Heading down into turn 3, he is going to come out of 2 with the lead.
Off a tunnel turn there, that is where most drivers can find ways to pass pretty quickly and find ways to take aim and take refuge there. Garland was one of them. But the 66 Stephen Parker right now is still keeping his Monster Energy 66 in the dream and alive and well. It's not giving out just yet here, but I can tell you that speed that he's carrying is not nearly as much as I guarantee you he was hoping for down there.
No, definitely not, as that 70 of Mike Killenbeck is pulled right up to his back bumper as they head into one. Him and David Lamaga in the 34 have pulled up. They have them fresh tires, so it's just a matter of time before they can make their way around Steven.
Right back in the pack here, the 45 of Darrell Wells slowing down tremendously here. Now the 9 of Brian Wojcik, as well as the 45 of Darrell Wells starting to make their move off of the corner, as well as the 21 there of Rob Lowell. Rob Lowell, he unfortunately has found himself in the proverbial tough spot here, kind of in that cap box, if you will. That's not where you want to be, because he is currently way back in the pack and way back in the field due to the unfortunate circumstances he suffered earlier on, and that has got to be kind of weighing on him just a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be weighing heavy on this. This is a long race. He still has a long way to go, so it's not going to be fun for him as he just tries to carry on through the rest of this race and bring it home as high as he can in this finishing order. As the 70 of Mike Killenbeck back up front is getting a run on the 66 of Steven. Can he get a run to the inside? Will he make it past? No, they're getting an amazing draft on the leader, and they pull right up there. They had to have closed at least 3-4 car lengths just on that straightaway.
They did indeed here, and Mike Killenbeck, I think, kind of very well aware of that circumstance and situation here. Knows he's going to have to start really bolstering the momentum up and burning the run down a little bit harder if he wants to catch these guys, while Parker continues to just kind of do his own thing, kind of stretch out the limit, stretch out the car, and look for opportunities wherever he can and find the moments whenever he can get to them. But this is just turning into more of that long haul I talked about earlier on, which is, can you build speed up from the drafts, or do you have to try to aim more towards, you know, just completely dissecting it in and just giving it everything you got?
Yeah, and I actually think that's where Mike Killenbeck is just trying to hang out right now. He's not too worried about passing Parker in the 66. He's just using that draft to hang out, save his equipment, because he knows the 66 keeps getting runs on the leader. He's using that momentum to his advantage. He's hitting his marks. He's saving his tires. And just as I say that, he's going to jump to the inside of the 66 and get ready to make that pass for second place.
You know, we talked about how the Gen 6 has really had a good draft line and build up on the speed roster when it came to Pocono. I think the next gens might have something or two with it. But, you know, there's also that other added pressure and benefit of, you know, do the next gen Cup cars actually make a difference in the model-wise? Now, you're probably wondering at home, like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Like, these models shouldn't be any different to one another. Well, contraire mon frère, my friends. Believe it or not, even though we kind of lived with the car of tomorrow circumstances, you may notice something. Some of these cars, the way they're shaped in, they're angled, actually have a little bit more of a downslope or a little more of a uniqueness to the look, which actually allows for more run and more speed and buildup because of the aerodynamic control that the cars represent and bring to the table. So again, they're designed more to look like the actual car, but in turn they also have kind of the added benefits that come with it. The Camaro always had that kind of down-shaped nose end that was really good on short tracks and really good with the intermediates, but Fords, they always seem to have kind of the better opposition when it came to being on the plate tracks, because the way they were shaped in and the way they were down-sloping the hood off to get the aerodynamics to push off into the wing, they actually had maybe about 5 to 10 more miles per hour of speed when in case with the draft.
Yeah, definitely a case in point there. As we saw the leaders come up on the lap traffic right there, they all wind up making it by pretty easily.
Yeah,
there's a 37.
Well, that's got to kind of prove my point here, though, Arch. You look what's up front right now. Currently, I didn't even talk about the Camry, because the Camry, to me, is kind of a mix in between of what Chevrolet and Ford is, and actually the Camry is right now in the lead. Actually got a pretty good momentum boost off, so currently Toyota has the advantage there. But look what's up front right now. You got in the top 5 Ford, Chevy, Ford, Toyota. Like, there are a few more Fords in there, and I was talking about that plate track style racing. Well, this is a very much longer track than the usual 1.5 miles, and I said earlier those Fords seem to have a little bit more speed, a little more grip around here, and it seems like they're actually showing it right here and now.
Well, watching Anthony Garland in that 81 in that Toyota Camry is making me excited that I did purchase the Toyotas.
You purchased the Toyotas, meanwhile I purchased all of them. I still got my Ford Mustang hanging around here.
Oh, I'm sure it'd be nice to get behind the wheel of one of those, but I had to choose one for tonight's race, and I went ahead and bought the Camry so I could get in here with you, and we could put on such a great show for these fans as these guys are just trying to hang out as Mike Killenbeck finally made that pass, and he's trying to generate his own runs on the 81 of Anthony Garland as he is almost within 2 or 3 car lengths of him now.
He is hammering in, giving all the speed he's worth here. Back of the pack as well right now. John Lomaga trying to stay out of trouble and trying to stay out of trouble here, if you will. We're getting a few laps down, having all sorts of problems, but leading it back up into the mid-pack here. We'll take a look as well with Keith Fonseca in the 61 as he is trying to put this Fonseca machine ahead with the Chevrolets, while his fellow Chevrolet combatant there, Stephen Parker Hamilton, continues to march to the beat of his own drum.
Well, this John Lomaga is not having a great race. David Lomaga is pushing the 70 to the lead as we speak. They're going to take the lead right now as the 70 is your new leader. Let's see if he can hold it down to the line.
He'll have a lot more to do than I think just holding down the line. He's going to have to try to find a way to defend and block his fellow Conrad there. The other Ford Mustangs are in full pursuit. And this is where that draft comes in and that gearing comes in I was talking about earlier. I know iRacing says that they're not the same exact thing, but I'll tell you one thing, they are the same exact style and car are supposed to run, but I am willing to bet $5 right now. Every track is a little different on how each car works, and some of those drivers can exploit that just by simply running it out on the track.
Oh, and definitely you can see that. If you notice it right now, this 81 is starting to lose a lot of ground on these front two. These front two are just content. They're running in line with either. You don't really see Lomaga trying to make any passes. He's just pushing the 70 right now. They want to open that gap, take care of their equipment, and be able to generate this to the end of the race.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be getting a little bit crazy down there. Garland, though, oh man, he just nearly lost the corner there off of turn number 3, and the damage has been told. The right side of the Checky 81 machine, boy, he took a whole hard lick and a hard run off on that one.
Yeah, he definitely did. That was an awesome save by him. That was a wild ride that he about took, but he managed to hold on as Joshua Bromfield is the one that capitalized on that. He's able to pull into that 3rd position and see if he can do something with these two up front.
You know, I was talking earlier about the fact that we got some international flavor here. I'm representing this countryside, North America with Canada and and the United States. Meanwhile, up front with up in the UK with Europeans, but down on our friends down on the land below. Well, of course, we got our good friends Losing Tradition coming in loud and clear from Australia. It's good to hear from you, sir, and good to hear down from our friends down in the land down under.
I always appreciate you coming out and stopping in, Falcon. He's been a friend of mine for about 3 years. I've known him from back on the NASCAR Heat days, and he likes to watch good racing, and that's why he always checks it out here on PTM Racing TV. He knows we bring some of the best racing action there is here on iRacing.
Well, we're about to see a little bit of a change up and a mix-up here. We'll see which one gets the better of the 3 here, because Lomaga, Killingbeck, and Bromfield are all 3 in the hunt, in the charge. And if we take a look at our pit strategies right now, they are all 3 on the same amount of control and same amount of laps. You've seen guys go earlier on into pit road to try to get settled up and settled back for the score later. This might be the biggest advantage here for those guys that are up with the same manufacturers. They can actually work off each other and help keep their speeds at a neutral pace and give themselves a little bit of a longer run. And hopefully it all plays out. They may actually be able to use that to their advantage.
Well, I'm definitely going to try to, as these guys, we got a couple of the guys from earlier on that are actually stopping for their final pit stops now. So there's going to be a lot of lap traffic spread out on this track. A lot of guys are going to be all over the place. So let's see if that comes into play with these leaders.
When you got 19 laps to go and you got 3 of the same manufacturer up front and they're just drafting off one another, you would think to yourself, wait a minute, does that mean they're kind of teaming up together? And the word is yes or no. Well, yes and no. And the reason I say that is because really, when you're thinking about this and you're thinking about being on the track on your own, you have to help each other out a slight bit to end up getting more speed for yourself. So it's kind of give and take, if you will. But depending on how much you give is also depending on how much you don't want to you want to take back later on. And sometimes some take a little bit more than they should, and they'll end up just kind of getting a little bit heated with one another to where they'll have to start bumping and banging, or they'll have to start defending and blocking. And I'll tell you one thing: when you're blocking out here on these kind of races, tracks, and these kind of circuits, this is a scary place to even be thinking about doing it.
Well, definitely. And it's another thing watching this is making me excited to try these cars. Because maybe these guys don't want to work together. Maybe just because their manufacturer cars are working so good together that they're not risking splitting apart. Because you know as well as I do, sometimes when you get a Chevy behind a Ford or a Toyota, they like to push coming out of the corner. Well, right now these three Fords are showing that they're aerodynamically sound together, and it's helping all three drivers maintain a good run as these guys are up here up front battling for the front position for at least the last 5-10 laps, and hopefully for the rest of the races these guys are tearing it off of turn 3 right there.
And if you want to talk about a points day too, this really would be a major points day for David Lamaga, man. He is currently up in the upper half of the upper class, or I would guess you could say the upper crust of the positioning in the season's points. So much so that I think he might have actually found a way to turn his racing Bible to Acceleronicals verse 8 of 10. I find myself in a tricky scenario when I run the tricky 60, trusting the power of speed, and I'll make this one feel a little bit sicky with my speed underneath me. And right now I think he's got it pretty much dialed up there because he's currently holding back Killingbeck and Bromfield. But the way I'm seeing Killingbeck kind of try to make his move off and trying to make a corner in, it's the same thing I see when we're running on the flight tracks these days for the next gens at the moment, which is you can get a runoff on the start and you can get a runoff later, but that speed is not there to the very end. As a matter of fact, it's actually kind of less frequent and more opposition. It's more trying to see how you can get someone to work with you later and get a move off of them then, because the speed just isn't there at that moment.
Well, and I definitely can notice that as you see the 70 keep falling back off until that 12 gets to his back bumper. Then those two cars are able to close that gap. So it's a matter of being able to kind of time it, just like at Daytona and Talladega, as you say. You got to have your dancing partner. If your dancing partner's not willing to go with you when the time is right, it could cost you the race.
Marty Brown coming on board saying, let's go, Fonseca and Humphrey, trying to root on the team, trying to root on the crew, hope for a little bit of the best here and a little bit of help. If there is a little slowdown as well on the YouTube end side of things, guys, do apologize in advance. There's nothing we can really do about it. We usually would get the technical difficulty screen up, and I would go take my baseball bat to those glitch graphic gremlins. They seem to love annoying me as of late.
Well, we don't want you doing that, man. Baseball bat's definitely going to be stronger than that. As these two leaders are still nose to tail running down into turn 1. They do have a lap car right there. You'll notice him in that line in the 4th position. The 45 had just pitted, so Darrell Wells on them fresh tires is not really trying to chase it up with these guys too much, but he's definitely staying right there so he can be in that lucky dog position if a caution were to come out.
Now, one thing to know, when you do get a caution to come out, the only way to truly get the lucky dog and to also avoid being put back even further in by not getting the lucky dog, you have to avoid contact or any incidences under the guidelines of the iRacing rules and regulations, as well as Joe Sixpack Racing League regulations. That is the only way you'll be able to truly get a lucky dog completion and run from the crew. So you can see why he's backing off, while he's trying to stay out of trouble. He may be just hoping for a little bit of a break, a little bit of a straight shot in case something does happen, because again, we don't know how crazy things can get until they actually get to that moment. And we've seen before where 2 laps to go at Pocono really can switch things up and make drivers get a little bit over their heads when it comes down to it.
Oh yeah, green-white checkered here can be probably one of the most terrifying things for a driver. You've ran this whole race, and then they're going to bunch you back up and make you try and make it one more time off a restart. It's a hard experience. I don't want to have to go through it again. This track has caused so many tough memories and races for me that I'm not a fan of it.
I've only got one bad race to this place, and that was just because it was my own doing, my own fault. Everybody was just getting a little too aggressive on the start and really getting way too out of hand. Even I admit out of the gate I was doing the same, but I will not hesitate to say that this is not one of my favorites, but at the same time it is a track I do respect, and I do at least can say that it is probably one of the most unique racetracks on the circuit. But nevertheless, when you run it out here, I would say if you're going to run Pocono, there's only two series I recommend highly, and that is anything from the NASCAR trucks and up, or get yourself an IndyCar out here. That's the only way I can truly say Pocono lives up to its reputation.
Yeah, Pocono definitely has a reputation to uphold, and a lot of these drivers trying to build their reputations. They're trying to get the win here at Pocono and say that they were tough enough to tame this beast of a track.
They are indeed here, man. This place is just giving them more headaches and more grief than it really belongs to from the start, but they managed to bring it back on the second half here, and now showcasing what they are capable of doing, as Bromfield will have to now head it down the pit road. He has to go in. He says he can't keep going the way he's doing.
Well, see, and that's why I was wondering if these guys are going to have to stop on this last stretch right here. This could be something that makes or breaks the whole race. This pit stop could be crucial. One speeding penalty could ruin a whole day's worth of hard work for these drivers and crews.
It can indeed, and right now, Arts, I guess, got that feeling that the more we continue on, the more this is just going to favor those that stayed out the longest and those that were pretty much in pit road at the right time. This has now turned from a fuel mileage race to a tire mileage race, because if you look at how bad those tires are getting shredded out, those tires have got to be burning a lot of rubber here.
Oh, I'm sure they are. These tires burn a lot of rubber no matter what you run here. This track is not a friend to the tires, as we got the leaders now coming down to pit road, the 34 and the 70. The 70 is going to close a lot of gap, as they're going to slow down to even it out right there. So I'm excited to see where these guys are going to come out after these pit stops in relation to the guys that pitted early.
There was a 32-second gap from David Lomaga and Mike Killingbeck. Lomaga right now currently in a smart strategy as well as Killingbeck, but the problem is Garland, even though he's about 30 seconds off of them and off the pace, he's got 6 seconds ahead of Stephen Parker Hamilton. So if Anthony gets ahead, he's going to have to rely on his speed and wits to hold the draft away from the field.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a key, as these guys are coming down to about 10 laps to go here.
So he does take the race lead away. Now Garland is going to be the #1 driver coming in, as apparently I had to take my technical difficulty screen up for just a second here and see if we can get the stream to clear up a bit. There it goes.
And 81's going to come off with a nice little gap over them guys.
Yeah, he's got a real good gap here. Josh Bromfield is very well aware of that. The 12, when he went into pit road, I think he was really kind of timing, accelerating. Just what he'll need to be playing out, what he'll have to do to, you know, build up the momentum, build up the run.
What we were talking about earlier, guys overcoming adversity. The 81 of Anthony Garland, you saw him when there was 5 cars racing for the lead there. He is the one that did get up, get into the wall a little bit, damage that right side of that car. So pitting early wasn't his strategy, but it was forced on his hand, and we're seeing how it's playing out here.
Now, if you guys want to talk about strategy here and speed, Killingbeck's about 2 seconds back of David Lomaga here, and Lomaga is literally starting to just build more and more runoff. He is getting he's getting much quicker to the corners and much faster on his entries, but is he going to have enough time to catch Anthony Garland and them with about 11 seconds of a gap? I don't see it happening, especially considering Humphrey and Bromfield seem to be working with each other to try to draft each other up to the front now.
Well, they definitely are, and they've still got to catch Parker Hamilton up there in the second position, 66. So there's 4 cars between Lomaga and Killingbeck before they can even stand a chance to fight for this. The only hope I see them having is if this caution does come out.
I don't see a caution coming out anytime soon, really, just because how spread things are apart. The only way they will happen is if a tire goes down or something gets crashed out. But I think these drivers did enough of their equipment, did enough damage earlier on that they realized, like, hey, we need to actually take care of these things, guys. We can't keep doing this to our cars and ourselves. This is just not the track to be doing it. And if it ended up here right now, we would have 3 different manufacturers in the winner's circle here. Anthony Garland, though, in my opinion, probably the most smart and most bunched up of the field, may have outclassed everybody with this spiritual wit and determination, because even though he's not the fastest guy out there, he is certainly proving he can hang with his own when it comes to the fuel run.
Well, I think he did the smartest thing. It was about 5 or 6 laps after he tagged the wall. Once he got into some clear track, he wound up just pulling it down on pit lane. he knew that them guys were going to be losing a second to a second and a half a lap to him on them older tires. And you can definitely see the reversal here with them fresh tires that he already used up. Yes, the guys behind him are going to have that advantage, but the gap already appears to be too big as we're inside the final 10 laps of this race.
I think it's going to be too much, and there's just not enough time to do it anymore. Right now, looking at our best lap times here, the guys that were the fastest were actually the ones you wouldn't even believe. Anthony Garland, even though he's kind of slow right now, he is the #1 driver here with the speed and control and wits here because he has got a 53.52, the fastest of the night. The only one that came close to him was John Humphrey with the 53.53. And, you look at that time, you look at that speed that he carried. Again, a lot of that was built off the draft, but with a top speed of about 190 miles per hour, that's honestly extremely tough to, figure out how to beat out and really take down, especially considering the distances they are at momentarily.
Oh, it's definitely hard to take down, but you look at the guy like Stephen Parker Hamilton, who was 4/10 off of that lap time, still running in second, even though he's now losing that second position to the 12 of Joshua Bromfield. Bromfield into second now. And it looks like Jonathan Humphreys in that 4 is about to come up and pass Stephen Parker Hamilton as well. They've gotten an amazing run. Let's see how well Stephen Parker Hamilton can hold on, being on some of the oldest tires out here on this stretch.
Hamilton dealing with company there right beside him. John Humphrey, the #4, sneaks his way right by him off the tunnel turn 2. He'll lean his way back into position. Hard on the run there. The #4, John Humphrey, will now make way for the 4 Chevrolet to come toward to the top 3 now. And this is where things get extremely interesting because you're seeing a lot of speed built up with the final laps to go. Honestly, Bromfield and Humphrey may have one last chance to catch old Garland. Garland isn't exactly holding back his speed and momentum, and we're going to take a look at the lap time here now. This may be a telling of the tale, but there's a lot of green in there that I think Garland is not wanting to see. You can see actually a full second was gained on lap 53, and 54 was nearly a full second. With 5 laps to go, this is not looking good for Garland. He's going to have to be careful when he gets that final 2 or 1 to go because he's going to have to basically full throttle assault and block as much as he can with whatever tires is left on that car.
Yeah, if he can't minimize that time loss to Bromfield, it could be lights out for him as Bromfield, if he gets in within that draft range, I think that's where he's going to be in a lot of trouble, and we'll see how small that gap is closing the line this time. He's closed it almost another second again. We're now down to a 4.3 second difference. So another second comes off the board there. With 4 to go, 4-second gap. Can Bromfield get up there and do it?
0.8 of a second was gained that time by John Humphrey. Don't count him out yet either. Because the thing is for him, he's actually starting to build a bit of a speed run on Bromfield once more. You could have 3 cars battling it out for the win. And if something goes wrong for either of them, Hamilton might just catch a big break and maybe a little bit of a swear and a prayer ahead of all of them, and that's the last thing anybody wants to be thinking about when you're trying to get that win off of this speed run you have built up.
Yeah, it's definitely something you don't want to think about, but I know what the 66 thinking about. He's saying, go get them, boys. He wants some guys up there to go catch them and get side by side, and maybe if the worst case scenario happens for them guys, best case scenario could happen for him, where he might be able to sneak a win or a top 3 out of this after holding off as long as he could.
Something we kind of spaced off about, didn't even think too much about either, is that 34 David Lumaga. We actually kind of forgot about him. Him and Kellingbeck were doing a great job earlier on getting speed and getting rhythm, but actually Lumaga is starting to get up there to Hamilton, and if anything, I know he's got a top 5 car run, but does he have enough to actually get to a top 3, if you will? And I mean by that is, he is actually gaining ground on Humphrey and Bromfield as the laps slowly progress in. But again, there's only 4 laps to go, and on a 2.5 mile long track, that's not a lot of time. And 3 seconds now is the difference between Garland and Bromfield. Bromfield knows where he's at, but does he have enough tire to take down Garland? That is going to be the key. We saw literally at Pocono what happened when you think you had it set, you had everything dialed in and ready for a finish. Kyle Larson was bound and determined to win it, but the tire goes down on the final laps and then costing him everything and anything to get the win. Everyone else managing to make their way around him and taking it in full advantage. This could be possibly the change of the night and maybe the move of the night coming up here on the final 2 laps.
Well, Bromfield's trying to do everything he can. That was down to a 2.5-second gap at the line that time, and he had opened a half a second on Jonathan Humphrey. So let's see what he can do as we're getting ready to come down to 2 to go. He is doing everything he can.
He's doing everything he can and doing more so. He's really giving it 150%. That's not 110. It's not even 100. This is way above what he can do. He's pushing his car to its limit. He's pushing himself to its physical limit. Is there enough time? Has he strategized just a little bit better by a couple laps on Garland with the green flag high in the air? There are only 2 laps remaining at Pocono.
I'm sitting here watching that Chucky paint scheme from the nose cam looking back, and I'm telling you what, that 12 car is gaining too fast. I believe he's going to get to the leader's back bumper by the start-finish line, and he will have an advantage when he gets to his back door. And we're not going to forget about the 4. He's there too.
But when he gets there, how is he going to be able to pass him? There's a couple areas he can do it, but you know Garland's going to try to block. They're going to come down out of turn 2 from the tunnel turn. This is the block move coming up. Garland decides not to do it, though. He goes up high, lets Bromfield ahead. Bromfield is going to take advantage, and the Ace Wild now will go to the front straightaway with the lead lap, and this is the white flag now for the number 12 as the 81 of Garland. I don't even know how that draft line just built up speed, but I think he was waiting for him to do it. They're going to bolster it straight into turn 1 with 3 cars battling for the win.
I think that he did the smart thing there. I know that he didn't really have nothing for the 12. I think the smartest thing he could have done was let the 12 go by, try and hold on to the 12's draft, try and hold on to second place. As he's still trying to stay ahead of that number 4. The number 4 is going to get a run on down here on that second stretch heading into the tri-oval.
This is literally long-term use, long-term run being put to full advantage and full gear. The 81 of Garland trying to stay away from getting into trouble there from Humphrey. Humphrey is trying to make a move off on him, but that might have been the bobble that the 12 was looking for all night long. Humphrey does not have enough time to catch Bromfield. They'll lead him down out of turn 3, and unless he can catch him, it's going to be a little bit of a tough call, but no, it's not enough time. Josh Bromfield will win at Pocono with a long-term strategy and use put to good work there as John Humphrey comes away second. Third will challenge Anthony Garland, and fourth will go to David Lamaga. Fifth to Stephen Parker Hamilton to round out the top 5.
That was awesome to see how that strategy worked out. We weren't sure, but closing almost a second a lap was enough. He managed to get up there and get the draft of the leader and use it to his advantage. Get that pass going into 3, coming down to 1 to go. That is huge, and it's huge for the 66 of Stephen Parker Hamilton to be able to bring that thing home inside a top 5. He had a little bit of a rough start to the day, but through pit strategy and just sheer will and determination, he wheeled that 66 car home to a 5th place position.
There's going to be a lot of hooping and hollering down there for the boy from Virginia there. Josh Bromfield walks away with the tricky 60 win, and a big opportunity has strung up for his chances at getting back into the championship hunt and into the race call. But boy, this was a long, enduring fight for him and his crew, and somehow, some way, managing to sneak it out to the very end certainly shows a tale of his story and how he got here. As we now present to you the Joe Sixpack Racing League race results here. As Bromfield's going to try and see if he can get some burnouts going with these next gens. Looks like they do all right, I'd say.
Yeah, did a little all right, and he gave her a little touch on the infield wall, but who cares? He already won it. He don't need that downforce no more.
I don't really think he needs anything else there. Second goes John Humphrey. Third to Anthony Garland. Fourth to David Lamaga. Fifth to Stephen Parker Hamilton. Sixth to Mike Killenbeck. Seventh goes to Keith Fonseca. Eighth to Wayne Dewey. Ninth to Brian Wilczek. I'll let you do the final 9, sir.
All right, 10th is going to be Greg J. Sixpack. 11th is going to be Gary Wright. Wayne Garland's going to follow him in the 84. And 12th, James Grimes managed to hang on to the 37 and bring home a 13th place finish. Darrell Walls in the 45 will be 14th. Joshua Benton in the 69, 15th. Johnny Barker in the 6th and 16th. Rob Lowell in the 17th position, followed by John Lamaga for the final time tonight in the 18th position.
Top 3 are now going to be joining us in here, race fans. We're going to listen in and have a word in from our drivers. First up on the list and the roster, he is now coming to you from 3rd place. He had the lead up to the final 2 laps. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 81 of Anthony Garland. And Anthony, man, we was watching this one from the very beginning to the very end. We kept saying They were coming for you. They were hunting you down. We were wondering if that caution would have helped. Do you think it would have helped you at all for that long haul?
No, my strategy was to short pit so that I only took right sides there when I pit, and I had an advantage on tires. I actually had gained an 8-second lead, but I pit one lap too early because I had gotten into the wall, so I didn't want the damage to affect my speed. I pit one lap earlier than I wanted to. If I wouldn't have done that, I think I'd have held them off.
Well, I was about to say, it seemed like it could have gone either way. It looked like you had a good run there as well, kind of bolstering the momentum and the power up when you were getting to the very end, but nevertheless, still, it ends up still halting in for a third place finish here tonight at Pocono on the Tricky 60. Who do you want to thank here for this?
I just want to thank my teammates, Wild Aces, Josh Benton, Josh Bromfield got the victory, and Wayne Garland. We worked awesome as a team. Our pitch strategy worked well, and Brom and I, podiums. Love it.
Absolutely, man. Well, nevertheless, congratulations on that third place finish. It is great to see you back here on PT Race TV.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for broadcasting.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, your third place finisher tonight, Anthony Garland there in the 81. All right, now sending it down here to our second place finisher here tonight. It's John Humphrey in the number 4. And John, boy, you had a lot going down there as well. Obviously, you had a build up of speed that managed to get around Garland out of turn 3. But if you had one more lap, what do you say? Would probably Bromfield have been in trouble?
I'd like to think so. He was faster than me through turn 1 every lap, and I was a little faster than him in 3, but just wasn't able to close on him. But the finish there with Anthony was good.
It certainly was, man. There was so much going on, like we've said here just a second ago. There was the long-term strategy, the big use of using that draft line, that speed that comes with this cornering, and at the end of the day, man, you had everything in place and in the right spot, but it just was not the right time, would you say?
Yeah. I think a couple more laps, maybe we could have got something with him with the draft. I used a little pit strategy there at the end, took 2 tires on that last pit stop, and just enough gas to get me through. I ran out of gas in the tunnel turn after we passed the checkered, so it was a perfect stop. I'd like to thank my teammate, Keith Fonseca. We had Lucas Gortman helping us with the little pit strategy, so without them, I wouldn't have been able to get that track gained up.
For sure there is, and nevertheless, though, my friend, continuing to hold the charge and hold the line in. A good, solid finish for you and your crew. Congratulations on your second place finish, and we certainly will hope to see you very soon.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Humphrey in the number 4, your second place finisher here tonight. Walking away with the W here tonight. It's going to be Mr. Bromfield there, Josh Bromfield to be exact. Josh, congratulations, sir, and holy smokes, man, you had a really, really long time to get to this moment and get to this opportunity to strike, didn't you?
Yeah, I was just sitting back, just trying to wait my time. I didn't want to wreck anybody. Just trying to see what other people were doing. And then at the end, it was my team, Wild Aces. We was all talking about what kind of pit strategies we need to do at the end, and took 2 tires and fuel, and I guess I got out in a lucky spot. My teammate Anthony, he was in the lead, and he had pitted a little bit earlier, so I guess I'm lucky that I was in the right place at the right time.
You were indeed, my friend, and it ended up, we just heard a little bit ago that, unfortunately there for the 81 of Garland, he said he may have gone into pit road just a little bit too early, and honestly it was too little too late to try to block you off. But I mean, at the end of the day, were you expecting maybe a block or a situation kind of popping up when you went into those corners?
Hey, honestly, I literally just got the track probably 15 minutes before we started racing, so I didn't know what I was going to walk in today. And I know Anthony touched the wall, Garland, and I think that's what started his pitting early. If not, he would have probably been pitting at the same time. So, but overall, it was a good race. Appreciate you broadcasting, and Joe Sixpack for putting this on.
We're certainly there indeed. Josh, we appreciate you coming on board here tonight, my friend. What a race and what a season has been for you and the crew. Congratulations here on PT Race TV down for the Tricky 60 at Pocono Raceway, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your race winner here tonight, Tricky 60. Give it up for Josh Bromfield. Well, Arch, this has been a wild one to say the least.
It was definitely a wild one, but the finish of that race was so amazing. I know these guys had a rough start. There was a lot of cautions, but once these guys really figured out this track, like Josh said, I mean, the guy just bought the track today, and he's out here winning it. It was about being consistent, taking care of his equipment, and putting himself in the position to win the race at the right time, and he capitalized on that over his teammate.
Strategy and momentum will get you pretty far, and it honestly did here in this case. So, but nevertheless, we must say goodbye to Pocono. We will say hallelujah to the Tricky Triangle. We're heading off to Richmond for our next showcase race, and then one more to go with Kansas Speedway. There is so much to see, so much to show. We can't thank you all enough for tuning in. If you like what you see, head over to our Facebook and like and follow, subscribe there, and then head over to YouTube here and subscribe so you never miss a beat. Exclusive racing content, live broadcasted here on the show every now and then, so you better stay with us and stay tuned as we continue to see all our racing action progress through on the YouTube section. But for now, from all of us here at PT Race TV, we thank you, we appreciate you, we love you, we will see you